to Leaders of Tomorrow 18 Hour special initiative that celebrates the undying entrepreneurial spirit of micro, small and medium enterprises. This is the only daily MSME platform in the country, a show where you can voice your concerns and get answers to all your queries directly from our team of experts. We understand the issues that you, the MSME entrepreneur, face, and the show aims to bring you the most relevant and the most updated information on everything related to your businesses. Tonight we're taking in all of your queries, and to answer your questions with me in studio, I have Vishal Thakkar, Director SME Consulting. We also have Shashank Mitra, Founder and CEO, Lead Angels. Let's then kick off this show by taking in a query that's come to us on social media. S. Rajendran has written to us on Facebook to say that he runs a small business. He requires a loan to invest in his business and expand it, but he says that due to previous performances and facing a loss in his business, no banks are ready to lend to him. This despite the fact that he is able to provide or put up collateral. He's written in to us to ask us what our experts would suggest or recommend in terms of what can be done in this case and whom he can possibly approach for getting a loan. This is a very tough one because obviously he doesn't have a very good track record, but Vishal, maybe you can kick the show off by talking to him about what his options are.
Okay, so here there is something called as CIBIL rating, Credit Information Bureau of India Limited, which kind of keeps a tab of what kind of loans that you take and whether you are repaying them on time or not. A healthy score is something which is 750 and above, but in case if your score has really gone low because of your previous business losses, that does not mean an end of the world to you. Okay, there are many ways in which you can improve your credit score over a period of time. However, as one person would not have that kind of patience and he would be wanting funding immediately, he can look at a lot of NBFCs which are out there, and lot of companies which are willing to lend even subprime, because any person who does not have a healthy credit score, the lending automatically becomes subprime, which is high risk lending. Of course, he may have to shell out more collaterals and maybe pay a little high amount of interest initially, but if he is able to get these source of funding and starts repaying them on time, then I think over a period of time his CIBIL score would definitely improve and his cost of funds would come down. But yes, I must say that the situation right now that he is facing is a tough one.
Yeah. I just wanted to add that apart from taking a loan for his company, he could also look at taking personal loans against collateral, so that the business performance does not really impact a loan that he is taking on person for the business. So that could be another short-term measure for him.
Okay. How closely do angel investors or VCs or Ps look at the CIBIL score, for example, look at your bank track record? Does that sort of feature in at all?
Well, not really from the investment perspective, but looking at the personal CIBIL score of the person, of the entrepreneur, does give an inkling about his financial management skills. So therefore we sometimes do look at ask them to give their personal CIBIL scores.
Okay. Rajendran, that's in response to your query, and wish you all the best when it comes to raising funds at your business. Let's take in our next query. This is an email that's coming to us from Sudhir Chandra. Sudhir has written in to us to say his query is related to the consolidation of financial statements of associates and joint ventures as per the Companies Act of 2013. He wants to know if he is liable to consolidate financial statements of CPI in the financial statements of CPW. If the answer is yes, will it be consolidated from the equity method or from the proportionate consolidation method? Okay, this one's going completely over my head, so over to you, gentlemen.
Okay, let me take this one.
Yes, please.
Being a chartered accountant, I am aware about Companies Act 2013. See, the Companies Act 2013 is lined with the international standards, and erstwhile in Indian Companies Act or Indian GAAP, so to say, we always had a very simple method that if you are more than 20%, you are an associate. If you are more than 50%, you are kind of a holding company. Sure. And then you consolidate and you use complete consolidation method. But in this case, with the new Companies Act coming in, this dynamics have totally changed. There is something called as IFRS, which is now adopted in India since 2016, and as per these standards, the definition of a JV or a holding company has undergone a sea change. So many a times, even if you are holding more than 50% shares of the company, but there is something called as a test of power, wherein if most of the operational decisions are taken by the other JV partner who does not hold 50%, he has to consolidate. So the definitions are quite matured and very, very practical. So one needs to really look at the management agreement that he has in his case to first establish whether it's an associate or a joint venture. Once a thorough review of management agreement is done, what he needs to do is, if he finds that the company that he's talking about consolidating is an associate, then he will have to use the proportionate consolidation method, or I'm sorry, equity method. Or if he finds that the management agreement is such that consolidation is triggered, then in that case he will have to use the proportionate consolidation.
Okay, so IFRS is essentially an international standard that's now being applied in India as well. Is it beneficial for small companies? Maybe you can just take a minute to quickly walk our viewers through what the biggest change they can expect is.
Well, if you go to see, IFRS is being implemented stage wise, and really it comes to the smaller companies only in 2018. If I talk about IFRS in just one or two lines, what I can say to small companies is that these are mature set of standards which are implemented across 120 countries. Okay, if we see, the single most important reason why China got all the funding post 2007 is because China became compliant to these standards in 2007. So essentially a fund manager sitting in Luxembourg or in New York, for him, even though your published results are in English, he does not understand until you follow common standards. So now once you start following those global standards, it will be easier for a guy sitting in Luxembourg to put your company, a Chinese company, a Brazilian company on the same Excel sheet and evaluate where the real value lies. So I think yes, there's a big positive change coming to us in our way in terms of attracting global investments. At the same time, there is a big challenge because these set of standards are very complex, and the single most change coming to our way is we are moving from a historical cost regime to a fair value regime, which is fairly new. And forget about the common people or business owners, even the accounting fraternity in India is kind of taking a hard time to digest the concept of fair value.
All right, that's in response to your query, Sudhir. Our next query is coming to us via call from K. Kumar. Kumar, what's your question for our experts?
What is the yardstick in deciding one's salary if it is funded by him, and what should be the salary if it is funded by a VC? Because from what I see, the salaries of people who are self-funded, it's very less, and the salary where the company is funded is very high. Why is it so, and what should be the yardstick for deciding a salary?
Okay, he's talking about salaries, exorbitant salaries, and also money that's coming in from VC and PE. So maybe I can ask you to answer.
Yeah, so it's a lot of times when you start a business in the normal course, the founders don't give themselves a salary till the company starts making profit or it reaches a certain stage. But yes, once the companies get funded by VCs, entrepreneurs want to give them salaries which are pretty high. So there are two views on this. One is that if the company has to attract top talent, the company has to pay market related salaries, whether it is the founder or it is any other person, and therefore at no time should the company give less than market salaries, and the business should grow big enough to be able to pay those sort of salaries. So that is one view. The other view is, of course, that since which is the, I would say, slightly Indian view of things, that you are using expensive investors' money and you would want to conserve it as far as possible to to survive, the first few years of your life with limited capital. So we as investors, what we do practice is, obviously we know that you need some money to survive. So what we say is that the founders take a survival sort of salary till the company is able to afford market related salaries, and that's, I think, the sort of happy medium between these two things.
Sure.
Okay, to add to just what Sushanto said, that from a promoter's or the founder's standpoint, see, an investor is somebody who bets on you or puts money onto the table, and that's his skin in the game. But whereas you are the founder and it's your business idea and it's your baby, so the kind of promoter stake you already hold. So what is it that you are putting onto the table? Where is your skin in the game? So I would agree with his viewpoint that a survivor's package is more suited for startups, because see, if an investor is putting in money and getting some stake in your enterprise, so money is what he put in. So what are you putting in? So you have to kind of take a hit on your market rate, and that's the financial value that you are actually investing in your startup for the stake that you own. So that's your skin in the game. So I think I completely agree with what he just said.
Okay, let's take in our next question, and this is coming to us on Facebook. Neeraj has written in to us to say that he would like to know the changes which are required in technology, like computer software or updating mobile applications, which will make it more efficient and compliant as far as GST is concerned. What will be the increase in technology budget then for a standard makeover for both the software as well as training? Will CA tax experts become irrelevant? Vishal, you were talking earlier about one change in terms of policy, which is IFRS. The other big change for the industry, of course, is GST, and everyone is gearing up to become more GST compliant. Do you want to take this question?
Yeah. So the kind of investments government has already made in GST are phenomenal. So far as the technology of GST is concerned, technically put, what we have, the kind of credit mechanism in income tax, where the person paying the money would deduct the tax, and the receiver really has to do nothing. He just downloads a form 26AS and he would get all the tax credits that are required. So GST is now moving to a similar platform where the seller will just put what is the quantity and rate sold and the invoice number, and the buyer will automatically get credit because his GST number is input by the seller. So once this kind of mechanism happens, the transactions A would be confirmed line by line as it happens in income tax, and B, it will become really very smooth to comply with the regulations of GST, unlike the plethora of indirect taxes that we are facing today, including your excise, your service tax, your VAT, your cesses, entertainment tax, luxury tax, and so on. So a lot of private companies and the biggies of the world like SAP and Navision have invested enough to give you a patch, which, let's say if you are using an existing ERP of all these companies, they would just give you a patch and will make your system compliant to GST. So there is not much investment from a consumer side so far as upgrading the technology is concerned, unless like you are a technology company and you are talking about upgrading it. Other than that, the second part he has mentioned is that will CAs and tax expert become irrelevant? So if we look at current situation, you will hardly find CAs and tax experts doing the rudimentary work of filing the returns or kind of filling up forms. That has already gone online. Really, where the experts are required is in framing GST strategy, since GST is India's first destination tax. Whether to have a go down or a stock point in every state is useful for me. Also with the fact that IGST is available for a set off against CGST and not against SGST. How do I plan my GST strategy? So in fact, the role of chartered accountants and tax expert moves on to the next level, where they would be required to advise all their clients on how businesses need to gear up, given in light of changes in regulations. So I think we are moving towards experts having more responsible role rather than doing the erstwhile rudimentary jobs.
Okay.
Yeah, just to add that, of course, with any change, the staff and the team, everybody will also have to be trained on the new system, just as we did when ETDS started happening. we have to change ourselves. I think this is also, all of us will also have to learn new things.
Okay, let's take a very quick break on that note, but we'll continue answering all of the queries which have come in to us. Just stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on the Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight we're continuing taking in all of your queries that have come in to us on call, on social media, as well as via email. This next query is coming to us as a call from Vishal Malik. Vishal, go ahead.
My question is, retaining an employee is a major concern for us. So how we can handle this easy attrition, since company has already invested in training these resources, and these employees, they end up leaving the organization for a better prospect at a very short period.
All right, thanks very much for that question, Vishal. Should I ask you to first take on this question from your namesake?
Okay, so here he's talking about employees or talent getting attracted towards more larger companies. I think he's coming from the standpoint that larger business are able to give more salaries or more perks to the employees compared to the startups. But you see, times are slowly changing now. The advantage of working for a startup is that you are not a small cog of a big wheel. You get to expose yourself to many more areas other than just your core competency, and that kind of widens your perspective. Also, the traditional cliche of climbing the corporate ladder really becomes a myth that is broken, because you get more responsible role in a startup, and if you are somebody who drives value in the system, then you can quickly grow up where the hierarchies are really flat. Yes, as promoters or as owners of SMEs and startup, many freshers look at that as a training academy and they come and go. But then if training is the DNA of your organization and you continue to churn out fresh talent over a period of time, people will see value in your company and stick around. And secondly, there are many options today where we at SME also say that your equity is like your currency, and you can offer ESOPs to your employees, long-term retention bonus, performance links payout. So all these are very potent tools which entails very little cash outflow, but make sure that there is a lot of employee loyalty.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think just like a startup has to sell its goods or services to the marketplace, it has to market its own employment in those companies to the potential employees. So it's a task that you have to do, and to make yourself more attractive. As I think we've discussed in earlier sessions also, that money is not the only motivator of people to join your company. So there are multiple other ways that you can make your workplace more attractive to the millennials. Have a place to involve them in decision making, do all the things which large companies can't do, and therefore compete with them.
Okay.
Including flexi work hours, work from home options.
So there are a lot of things that small companies can try, and it's not just about the money game. Okay, time for our next query, and this is coming to us from Kshitij Singhal, who's written in to us to say that with the implementation of GST, our profit margins have been hit very badly, and also with the current market scenario, he says sales have gone down by nearly 40%. As experts, please advise us as to how can we handle the situation better, and by when do you foresee the situation can be controlled? So, situation can be controlled, etc., is a very forward-looking question. But what would you recommend to him in terms of his margins?
So we are saying that with GST coming in, a lot of businesses see that their margins are being hit. On the one hand, where if you are, let's take a scenario where you're procuring all your raw material locally, but all your sales are interstate. In that case, you are doubly hit, because on one side you have SGST credit, and on the other side you have IGST debit. In such a situation, margins will take a hit. But as GST gets rolled out across the country, one big advantage that these people will have is that all the dealers today who are unregistered and kind of pay no taxes and hence are able to sell material very, very cheap will go out of the market, because the customers would not prefer to buy from dealers who are unregistered, because in doing so they lose their precious credit. So even if material would appear nominally expensive, they would still prefer to buy from a registered dealer and take the credit which is required for them. So what happens is that this reduced margin today translates into higher volumes, and thereby overall profitability goes up. And so far as his second question is concerned, he has not mentioned the magic word called demonetization, which has hit his sales. But let me assure you that this is a short term phenomenon. So once this entire tide of tsunami goes back and we see the real situation emerging, you will see that the demand will come roaring back, because today all people due to demonetization are forced to deposit their money with banks, and banks are stuck with all the money because government is not allowing bank to disburse any loans. Once so much of liquidity which is like behind the dam of a bank waiting, and once the bank will open the floodgates, he will see that his business will definitely see a turnaround, and as you correctly said, it's a very forward looking thing.
So I think exactly, I'm not an expert on GST, but I think in the long run GST will only make businesses more competitive in overall terms who are complying with the tax laws, and people who are in the grey market or outside the realm of law, they will be at a disadvantage as we go forward. Yes, demonetization is hit a lot of businesses very badly, and we really don't know how long it will take for it to sort of get back to normal, but whether it's 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, but eventually things will be back to where they were.
With that, we've come to the end of this show. Gentlemen, thank you both very much for being with us here tonight. If you have any question about any aspect of your business, do remember you can write in to us at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. You can tweet at me personally at Sunanda_J. You can reach us on social media using the hashtag LOT, or call us on that number you're seeing flashing on your screen. We promise to have all your questions answered. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.